Something is shifting in Charlotte. You can feel it in the air at Bank of America Stadium. We've endured the lows, the 2-15 seasons, and the heartbreak. But now we're standing on the edge of a new era, a make-or-break moment that will define this franchise for the next decade. Real fans know this isn't just another offseason. It's the ultimate test for our identity. Before we dive into the weight of 2026, hit that like button and subscribe. If you're part of the Panthers faithful, you need to stay locked in. Our Super Bowl window starts now. Dave Canales did the unthinkable last year. He took a team that started 1-3 and turned them into division champions. But even with that banner hanging, there's a shadow looming over 2026. Reports are surfacing that the entire future of this organization now rests on one man's shoulders. We're talking about Bryce Young. The former #1 overall pick is entering his 4th season, and the buzz around the league is that this is his final evaluation period. It's fascinating because Dan Morgan has spent the last 2 years building a fortress around him. We saw the defense get massive upgrades with Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd. Phillips didn't come cheap at a reported $120 million. That's a statement. It says the defense is ready to compete right now. But here's the thing. Even with a top-tier defense and a revamped offensive line, the questions about Bryce haven't gone away. Sports Illustrated's latest report suggests that while the roster has made massive strides, Bryce's uneven performances remain the ultimate wildcard. Last year, he showed flashes. He threw for over 3,000 yards and 23 touchdowns. He even kept us in that playoff clash against the Rams. But those 5 turnovers in the first 5 quarters of the season, that's what keeps fans up at night. Now this is where it gets interesting. The front office picked up his 5th-year option, which shows a level of commitment. However, Dan Morgan is reportedly waiting for the right time to talk about a long-term extension. That right time depends entirely on how Bryce handles the pressure of 2026. The franchise has ensured he has a stout offensive line by bringing in names like Monroe Freeling and Rasheed Walker. They've removed the excuses. It feels like the stage is set for a hero's journey or a tragic ending. We've seen the flashes of brilliance, the mobility, and the high football IQ. But we've also seen the inconsistency that plagues young quarterbacks in this league. This isn't just about winning the NFC South again. It's about proving that the heavy investment in the quarterback position was the right move for the long haul. The identity of the Carolina Panthers is tied to Bryce Young's arm. And that is exactly where the tension lies for every single one of us today. When you look deeper at the roster construction, you realize the stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just about Bryce, it's about the ripple effect on the entire salary cap. If Bryce doesn't take that massive leap in 2026, the Panthers are in a very difficult spot. We've seen Dan Morgan be aggressive. Signing Jalen Phillips to that massive contract suggests the window is open right now. But if the quarterback play remains inconsistent, that defensive talent could be wasted. There is a real sense of urgency behind the scenes. Some are saying the 2025 season was a proof of concept for Dave Canales. But 2026 is the trial for the franchise's direction. Think about the pressure on that offensive line. Morgan didn't just add depth. He went out and drafted Monroe Freeling in the first round to ensure protection was elite. He brought in Luke Fortner and Sam Heck to solidify the interior. The message is clear. If Bryce fails, it won't be because he didn't have protection. That creates a unique kind of tension. As fans, we want to believe he is the guy who can lead us to a Super Bowl. But the turnovers, like the 11 interceptions and lost fumbles last year, are hard to ignore. This block of the roster is built to win now. The NFC South has been wide open lately, but the competition is heating up. The Saints are getting high marks, and the Buccaneers are always a threat. If Bryce continues to start games slowly, the Panthers could find themselves chasing the division instead of leading it. There's a worry among the faithful that we might be seeing a repeat of past quarterback cycles where the talent is there, but the results are just out of reach. The emotional weight of being a #1 overall pick is heavy enough, but doing it in a city that is desperate for a winner is a different beast entirely. Every throw in training camp, every decision in the red zone, and every fourth quarter drive will be scrutinized. We are looking for that killer instinct that elite quarterbacks possess. If he can eliminate those early game miscues that plagued him last season, the sky is the limit. But if the mistakes persist, the front office might have to make some very uncomfortable decisions about the future. This is our moment. This is where the narrative really shifts for the Panthers. We have to talk about what happens if the leap doesn't occur. The phrase make or break is thrown around a lot in the NFL, but for Bryce Young in 2026, it is the literal truth. If he performs, he gets a contract that could surpass $200 million. If he doesn't, we're looking at a potential reset that nobody in Charlotte wants to endure again. But this is where things change. The front office has built this team so specifically that a quarterback change would be a massive structural shock. They've invested in veteran defenders and young tackles specifically to fit this window, and that's the biggest question. Can Bryce handle being the center of a championship-caliber roster? Last year's wild-card loss to the Rams was a bitter pill to swallow. He played well enough to keep it close, throwing for a touchdown and running for another, but that first-quarter interception was the difference-maker. Those are the margins we're talking about now. In 2026, those margins become the entire story, because this could become something much bigger than just a few wins and losses. It's about the culture Dave Canales is trying to build. He's known as a quarterback whisperer, but even the best coaches need the talent to execute the vision. There's a buzz that the playbook will be significantly expanded this year, putting even more onto Bryce's plate. This is designed to test his limits. We're seeing a roster that is no longer in a rebuild phase. We are in a compete phase. That shift in status changes the emotional landscape for the players and the fans. There's no more wait until next year. The expectations are to not just win the division, but to make a deep run in the postseason. If Bryce can find his stride and maintain consistency, he becomes the face of the franchise for the next decade. If the inconsistency remains, the shadow of the 2023 draft will loom even larger. The pressure is suffocating, and the stakes are generational. We're watching the defining chapter of the modern Carolina Panthers play out in real time. Every decision Dan Morgan makes from here on out is a bet on Bryce Young. It's a high-stakes gamble that will either pay off with a parade or a total overhaul. Truly, I'm going to be honest with you all. This situation actually worries me a little bit. I love the direction Dan Morgan is taking. I think the signings of Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd are masterstrokes. But putting the entire weight of a franchise on one young man's shoulders in his fourth year is a risky game. I really like the move to bolster the offensive line, especially drafting Monroe Freeling. It shows the organization is doing everything possible to help Bryce succeed. I think fans should pay attention to how Bryce reacts to the pressure this preseason. Reports suggest he's been working harder than ever on his footwork and decision-making. But on the field, when the bullets are flying, that's when we'll see if the growth is real. I've always been a Bryce supporter, but I have to admit those early season turnovers last year were incredibly frustrating. It felt like we were watching the same mistakes over and over. However, seeing him lead us to the playoffs and almost pull off an upset against the Rams gave me a lot of hope. This could be incredible if it all clicks. Imagine Bryce playing with a top-5 defense and an elite line. He could easily be a Pro Bowler. But this could also become a problem if the extension talks start to distract the locker room. There is a fine line between a player being motivated by a contract and being paralyzed by the fear of failure. From what I'm hearing, Bryce is as calm as ever, but the intensity in the building is definitely higher. The coaching staff knows their jobs are tied to this development too. It's a collective effort, but the quarterback is the one who has to pull the trigger. I believe in Dave Canales' ability to get the best out of him, but at some point, the player has to just take over the game. We saw it in college, and we've seen it in glimpses in the NFL. In 2026, we need to see it every single Sunday. If he can prove the skeptics wrong and eliminate those interceptions, the Panthers are going to be a force in the NFC. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm also keeping a close eye on those first few games. The start of the season will tell us everything we need to know about our future. As we look toward 2026, the tension is undeniable. We're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to the glory we've been waiting for since the Cam Newton era, and the other leads back to the drawing board. This story is far from over. The front office has done their part. The coaching staff has implemented the system. Now it all comes down to number 9. Will Bryce Young become the franchise savior we all envisioned when he was drafted first overall? Or will the weight of the expectations prove to be too much? The future of the Carolina Panthers is shrouded in uncertainty, but that's what makes this journey so compelling. We are on the verge of seeing something historic, one way or the other. This feels like the beginning of a saga that will be talked about for years in Charlotte. But I want to hear from you. Do you think Bryce Young is the long-term answer, or are you worried about the inconsistency? Does this roster have enough around him to win it all? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because the real conversation happens with you, the fans. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the Panthers' journey. We're in this together, through the highs and the lows. Keep pounding, and let's see what 2026 has in store for our team. The quest for the crown continues, and we'll be here every step of the way.